So can you believe this? Turns out, toads known to secrete the buffotoxins include the following. So all these, not just Buffo alvirus, which is listed at the top there, which is the main one that they focus on. I don't know why, all through the year 2000, 2005, when I were, reading Jonathan Ott and following all the psychedelics groups and things like that, talking about magic mushrooms. But then again, I suppose that it's a little bit like Terence McKenna is focused on these more exotic, larger mushrooms, because they, even though you can get a lot of psilocybin out of the smaller ones for weight, they seem to like grow in and concentrate on the cubensis and the American ones. So naturally, when Terence and Dennis McKenna are messing around writing the books in South America and other places, they're concentrating on the actual indigenous plants and the uses there, including the frogs. Now, although Dennis being a McKenna, which, is a Scottish name, McKenna, Terence doesn't really talk about the Simolenica ones, like the English and European variety of mushrooms, maybe because he thinks that, even though it's kind of obvious, though, he doesn't really sort of go on to the uses in Celtic or European prehistory or religion, because nobody's really doing that anymore. Maybe they just kind of take that subject, leave that for someone else. I don't know. I just want to draw attention to the subject of psychedelics. But, if they would have said, you see, there was a big deal over those Buffo alvirus frogs being illegal because they secrete DMT. Now I've seen this Alfred jewel, right, which no one's ever really mentioned it before, because I'm not I'm not a degree student. I'm not an actually archaeologist, I'm not absolute boffin on it. I've always had an interest in these things, but I've never been to museums and looked at the actual artifacts, because I've mainly been to sites and go to the actual places, and actually experiencing it yourself and doing the damn stuff, not looking at the things that other people made, I think it changes a lot once you see the objects. Now, it turns out that all these frogs just secrete toxins. So why would you have Buffo alvirus illegal to have if all the others excrete it? I don't know. Now, there are some of these are prehistoric frogs and extinct. So what other prehistoric frogs were there in Europe? Bigger ones, dodos. It's not that long ago when dodos were alive, or some varieties of turtle that human killed. And there's a lot of these frogs are actually in China, oriental ones. But you see the Buffo one, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 down. This is the one in England, the European frog, and that actually secretes them as well. Now, why doesn't Terence McKenna, Dennis McKenna? I haven't listened to every single thing that they've done, but I've got that Jonathan Ott book, which is meant to be the Bible of shamanic snuffs and entheogenic erines, right? Jonathan Ott is meant to be the main guy for Buffo, more than Terence and Dennis, really. And he never mentions, English frogs. So, they have them in England, in Europe. Now, there's no coincidence, I don't think, that Alfred pointer not only looks like a magic mushroom on the head of it, but it sort of resembles a frog. Although the head's a bit different. People have got slightly different faces and heads, but there's a lot more. I could go into great detail in symbology on, I could talk for 5 hours about that Alfred jewel now, but I just want to raise this point. You see that frog princess, when you learn about the Buffo alvirus and this South American shamanism, you think, where does that Buffo frog, where did the frog princess fairy tale come from? Did it only originate after, Cortez and, Spanish go over to South America and they find out about this, and is that when it originated from? Is a story actually rooted more deeply in Europe anyway? So, and the fact that the 5-MeO-DMT and the Buffo is related to psilocybin, it's slightly different. And then you've got that picture on the top of the slight variations, and actually, it's got the 4 oxygens on it, and you've got those weird things coming up on the Alfred character with the 4 bits on, which looks like the 4 oxygen molecules on the psilocybin. you know, is that item authentic or not, or has somebody conjured it up at a later stage? The thing is, underneath it, it doesn't actually have a cross underneath it, which some of the other rounder ones do. That one doesn't. So I just think that's really, really... I'm absolutely confounded that no one said that you can get the, you know, Buffoteines from in England. But then again, there are loads and loads of other varieties of magic mushroom besides liberty caps that you can get in this country, and not a lot many people know how to identify them or where to find them because they're a lot more harder to find. So, you know, and then again, they were eating frogs and eels anyway because they found them in the cairns in Anglesey. So I find that ridiculous. I mean, the fact that this Liberty Island is exactly 0.2 miles across, and the shape of it is just like the Alfred Jewel, and it's exactly the same shape as our Mound Deer, which is 0.2 miles across, and they're the same shape, and it's a Liberty Cap sort of shape, and that is the exact shape of the Alfred Jewel, and near the hills where you can get a lot of Liberty Caps, you know. Likely when this was all floodplains and flooded, there'd probably a lot of frogs, because we've got frogs around here, you know. Now, whether or not that was one of the things that the Druids used and knew about, as well as mushrooms and amanitas, among other things, God knows which other plants they employed into the repertoire, like the Solanica, Daturas, Mandrake, things like that, because they've all got different, slightly different properties and uses, all different varying aspects of dreaming function around and to do with that area of consciousness. So, you know, and that Alfred Jewel seems to have the whole lot in it. You know, symbolically, all of them in it. You know what I mean? And then you've got certain, you see, you secrete your own dimethyltryptamine yourself. We manufacture our own when we need it, and also, you know, you make your own chemicals in the gut. You know, and that's kind of emphasised on there as well in the picture. So, you know, it is also almost like an acknowledgement, you know, of that frog. But obviously, the Liberty Cap on there is in the gold. It kind of joins on where those glands are, you know, where it has the glands on. But obviously, we make our own as well. But, you know, a frog, is, even if it's pumping out that much DMT, it's not a human. It's not evolved itself into a human yet, has it? So, you know, and then when you put the pointer stick on it, I mean, it's got some shared symbolism as that item with the... I keep forgetting the name of them. I think I thought Carafinx, or I forgot. It begins with the letter C, and it's like the instrument that they blow on it, and it's like a horn, but also it makes a noise when you rattle it. It's like a battle instrument, a war instrument, kind of like with a pig's head on the top of it. But there is shared symbology in that and the Alfred Jewel object, obviously, when you got the pointer on it. So, you know, but I can't believe that. I think, you know, then again, Terence and Dennis and Jonathan, they're Americans, aren't they? They're not really English anyway. So they're really focusing, concentrating on that, even though the McKennas, you know, I've always thought that even though there is a lot of mushroom shamanism books, it's never really fit into the context of the ancient sites over here, because not only is it illegal, when anthropologists study it, we never get, when you go over there, you go into the jungle, you sit with the guys, you go to the places that they do it. Over here, you don't go to the sites and go to the places, or, you know, a couple, maybe one or two hippies at Stonehenge do, but a lot of the time you can't go on there. And it's, you know, they're not in the state to use. They're more ruins or derelict, you know, and a lot of them aren't fully configured properly. You know, for example, even the recumbent stone circles, you can't see the moon rising because of the trees. That type of thing, you know, you can't go there and watch the moon passing over, even if it's slightly out of light now, because, you know, some of them, they've grown the forest in front of it and things like that, which I find kind of ridiculous. It's almost like they don't want you to study or engage in it, which, maybe you think we've moved on, but surely the whole point of anthropology is studying the ancient history and practices, So it seems ridiculous that someone would fly all the way over to South America to get hands on with it when you can't really sort of get hands on with it over here. And when this is a place that you want to study your own history and learn about it, it's almost ridiculous. A university anthropologist studies a subject and gets a degree and is educated, but yet the English cannot go to these places and engage in the Open University to learn for some reason we don't know. Maybe the Archbishop of Canterbury has condemned it, or the Pope Francis, or even though the United States of America allow the free practice of any religion. How can you have the free practice of any religion if it's illegal? And it's not, it's not a book of the dead, is it? So kind of ridiculous.